Hi everyone, my name is Mark Moikins, and I'm continuing this series to show you how to create great looking UIs using all kinds of different methods: constraints, text properties, IB inspectables, interface builder, inspectables, designables. And we're going to continue on. I'm going to show you how to create a modal pop-up with an irregular shape. And it's actually quite easy. We're going to use inspectables again, and we're going to use some UI views. So let's create our view controller that will house our modal pop-up. So this is going to be our modal pop-up in here. And we'll have it come up when we click on the sign up button. So I'm just going to drag the sign up button over here to connect it. And I want to present it modally. Okay, if you see my other videos, I've shown you how to create something that looks like a modal pop-up. But I'm going to do it a little bit differently this time. Let's actually put a UI view on there, just so we can have something to look at when we click on that button. And I'm going to give it a background color. We'll use like this dark green here. Okay, so when I click on this button, all I want to see is just this modal pop-up. So what I'll have to do first is, let's minimize some of this stuff here, is this view right here. This is the white background view. I want to make that clear color so I can see the UI behind it. I'm going to be viewing this UI behind it. Now, what you might have remembered from the past is to create a modal pop-up, I changed these properties here. Cover vertically. You can still have it as a cover vertical. And presentation is I'm going to have that over the current context. But I want to show you a different way to do it too. You can actually change it right on the segue itself. So the segue itself is present modally, but you can also change it to change the presentation to over current context. And the transition is basically how it's going to appear. By default, it'll come up from the bottom. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, click on the sign up. And notice it came up from the bottom. It just popped up right from the bottom. I have no way of closing it right now, but we'll be adding that shortly. But so what I want to do is I don't want it to slide it from the bottom. You can do that if you want. Instead, what I'll do is I'll have it do a cross dissolve. What that does is that just makes it appear like kind of like fade in from the center. I'll show you what that looks like. See, it just kind of faded in from the center. Now, when this modal pop-up is showing, it's kind of confusing, like what's actually going on here. So what we want to do is we want to change this a little bit. We're going to create a blur instead. So we're going to blur out everything and just show the modal pop-up. So let's do that. I'm going to delete this because we don't need that on there. So I'm going to just type in blur down here to get the right one. Visual effect view with blur. Stick that in there. And we want the the blur to cover up the whole view. Actually, you know what? So take a look at the document outline. We have a view, which is the standard view of the default view that comes with the view controller. Then we have a visual effect on top of that. And then inside the visual effect, there's another view in which you place all your controls. That seems a little redundant. We have too many views going on here. So let me show you something else that you can do. We don't need to have all of these controls on here. I'm going to replace them all with the visual effect view. And you see how when I drag that on, I can either put it underneath it or I can put it like right on top like that right there. I'm going to do that instead. And it replaces those three other controls with just a visual effect view. So that's fine. That's exactly what I want. And I got to select it here. Oh, you know what? Yeah, that's cool. I don't even need to set the constraints because it's going to be the base view. Okay, cool. So that's even better. All right, so let's add a view that will be our pop-up. And our pop-up will look something maybe like that big. And let's give it a color. I think I'm going to stick with this dark green color because it kind of matches somewhat of a theme that I have with the first view. And I'm just going to center it for now. There we go. Slide that over. Okay, it's centered. And I'll just add some constraints. 240. Yeah, I'm going to make those the same. Make it more of a square. The height, the width will be 240. That's fine. I'm not going to update it now because I'm going to add another constraint. I'm going to center it. Now I'll update it. There we go. So I have a nice square modal pop-up. And for this pop-up, I also want to give it rounded corners. So again, we talked about this in the previous video. I could code it so it has rounded corners. Or what I can do is I can create an IB designable for this UI view. And that's the route I'm going to take. So let's create another designable. I'm going to use the Cocoa Touch class. And instead, I'm not going to be customizing a button. I'm going to be customizing a UI view. And staying with the name, staying with the same naming convention, I'm just going to call it designable view. That's fine. Okay. Now remember, in order to make it a designable, I have to tell it IB designable. Okay. And what did we want? We wanted rounded corners, right? Okay, I can actually just copy that right from our other button because we added rounded corners to our button. Oops. There we go. Okay, that's pretty much it. And that will give it rounded corners. So what we have to do is come back to our storyboard. And our view is already selected. And I want to use my new view, designable view. Now it'll give us a corner radius. So let's give our corner radius of 5. Look, okay, yeah, let's increase it a little bit. Maybe make it 10. Yeah, that looks better. All right, let's see what we got. Okay, click sign up. There we go, that looks much nicer. It's blurred background, and it really makes this modal pop-up stand out even more. And before we go on, I want to be able to test it, keep testing this. So I need a way to get rid of this modal pop-up. One of the things that I like to do is, you've probably seen in other applications, if a modal pop-up comes up and you want to close it, you can just tap outside of it, like in this white area, to get rid of it. So let's simulate that. I'm just going to add a button. And it's going to take up the whole view. We don't need any text in it. Right now, the button is on top of everything. So I have to come here and put it behind my view, like so. And the way this document outline works is the things toward the top are in the back, and the things toward the top. Wait, did I just say it right? No, the things in the back are toward the top, and the things in the front are toward the bottom. So we want to put basically this button between the view and our pop-up. Let's rename that. Let's say this is our pop-up. So we have a button here. Let's add some constraints so it fills up the whole window here. Now I want to be able to click it to dismiss this modal pop-up. So for that, we're going to need a view controller, which I don't have yet. So let's add a view controller here. New file, Cocoa Touch class, UI view controller. And this will be, let's just call it like, it's when we click the sign up, right? The sign up button. So we'll call it the sign up view controller. All right, so that's fine. Add it down here. Get rid of some of these things that we don't really need right now. We need an outlet for our button. Let's go back to storyboard. we have to say that this view controller is going to use our sign up view controller. Then from there, we can turn on the assistant editor. Oh, it's still on the preview. So let's change that back to automatic. There we go. And for this button, I'm just going to right click, drag it over here, and create my outlet. Actually, you know what? No, I don't need an outlet. I need an action. And we'll call it dismiss. Dismiss pop-up. Passing in the button. Let's connect that. All right, there we go. Normally, I have my events down here. So I'm just going to drag that down just to clean it up a little bit. I just want to call it dismiss. There it is. Wasn't coming up at first. Animated could be true. Completion, nothing. There we go. So now if I run it, I just click sign up, and I can click anywhere outside of where this blurry part is. You know, in here it won't do anything. If I click in there, nothing will happen. But if I click out here, it'll dismiss it. All right, perfect. So what's next? We're going to customize this sign up modal pop-up a little bit. And I was telling you about irregular shapes. The regular shapes is, you don't actually change this view itself. You just add to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another UI view to it. And we'll put it up here. And let's change the size to 100 by 100. All right, now I'm going to put it right about there. Okay, let's give it the same color so it matches. And so here you can start to see how it has an irregular shape. So you can really customize what kind of shape you want to show instead of just using squares all the time. I'm going to use our inspectable for this designable view because I want to give it a corner radius. Now I made it 100 by 100, so I want to make this view round. And to do that, your corner radius will always be, if you want to make it round, will always have to be half of your width or your height. So we'll make it 50. There we go. Yeah, that looks right. And let's give it some constraints. It's going to be constrained to this, so we'll give it vertical spacing that it needs. We also need to give it a height and width. What else is it missing? Yeah, it needs to be centered horizontally. That should be the last one. So I'm just going to update the UI view in case it needs to adjust. All right, good. So there we have our irregular shaped modal pop-up. And what I want to do is I want to add an icon here. So in order to use icons or image assets, you can put them in your, your image cassettes. Yeah, assets. That's where I have my background. So I already have an icon here that I want to add, a key. Okay, zoom in on here. So in order to use that, I need my image control. And the image, okay, this is something else I want to do. Now, I notice when I drag this around, it highlights different elements on the scene here. I want this icon to be inside of this view right here. So I want to keep moving it around until that round view highlights like that. And then I'm going to drop it in there. So you see this image is actually inside of this view. And let's change that size there to be 60 by 60. And it's way over off to the side here. So we're going to center that inside of the view. Like so. And we're going to give it the height and width of 60, and then I'm going to update it because I want it should be centered inside of this view, right? There we go. And of course it needs an image, so I'm just going to add that key. All right, that looks right. Okay, so I'm just going to add some other controls on here. It needs a label, 2 text boxes, so you can add your email address and your password, and then a button for sign up. I'm just going to drag them on here real quick. I'm not going to format them yet. Okay, now that all of my controls are on there, I need to format them. Oops. I need to format these so they all look pretty and they're all in the right position. I can do that with constraints, but I'm going to do something a little bit different this time. Instead, what I'm going to use is a StackView. Apple kind of tells us that we should be using StackViews for everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight these. Whoops. Hold down the command and click on all the controls. Why is it not? Something is wrong here. Oh, I see. Okay, when I dragged the button on, it wasn't inside of this view. I want all the controls inside of the square view, what I call the pop-up. So let me just drag that up in there. Okay. Put it down here like this. And then let's click all of these controls so they're all highlighted. And then I'm just going to click this button down here to embed everything in a stacked view. I can click that button, or I can also come up here to the editor and say embed in and choose stack view right there. There's 2 different types of stack views. There's the horizontal and the vertical. Based on how these controls are already on the UI view, it's going to put them in a vertical stack view. There we go. That looks kind of bad, right? So, we don't want our view looking like that, and especially all squeezed in together. So what we have to do is select your stack view, and you want to change the alignment. So see how it says trailing right now? Hold on, let me make this stack view a little bit wider. No, X. Oh no, that's changing the X position. I can't change the width. I can change the width. I'm going to do it through a constraint though. Okay, let's just make this, let's say 30 on each side. Yeah, and we want it vertically in the container. Let's click this button to update that frame. Okay, good. That's better. Let's go back here. Okay, so the alignment says trailing. And you know trailing is always on the right side, and leading is on the left side. But what we want here for these controls is we want them centered or filled. So we choose center, but they're still small, right? So what I'm going to do is change it to fill, and then now it'll use the whole width of the stack view. If I want to make them wider, I have to change the stack view itself. For this label, let's center that, and let's change that to white. There we go. Is that all the way white? I could have also just chosen white color too. And same with the button, we'll change that to white as well. Okay, but something still doesn't look right here. We want more space in between these. So let's select our stack view again, and let's change the spacing. And the more I click on this, you'll see it starts to really spread them out. Whoops, it's starting to go under this view right here. So let's have it come back a little bit more. And now what I want to do is I actually want to move the stack view down. So I have a constraint that it's connected to. What I can do here, it's centered, but I can give it an offset. So if I just change the constant, it'll offset it from the center. All right, that looks pretty good right there. Okay, good. So we got everything position the way we want it. And we use the stack view with some constraints. So it's pretty easy. So really, I only used 3 constraints, and that was for the stack view itself. I used a center constraint and then a trailing and leading constraint. But notice I didn't use any constraints for the labels or any of the other controls. So that does save you some time as far as like setting up constraints. For our label, we want to say something like it's free to join, because this is the sign up. It's free join. And for the button, it'll be sign up. So when they enter their email address and their password, they'll be clicking sign up. Okay, we don't know what these text boxes represent, so I'm going to give them some placeholders and call it username, not lowercase, and password. And you know what, since we have a custom font that we already added to our project, let's use the custom font for this. I want to change this to custom, and it was open something. Open Sans, there we go. Let's rejoin. Make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, that's fine. This, you see, it's not too clear when it renders. I sometimes notice that with custom fonts. They don't render clearly all the time. So maybe it's because it has to be at 100%. Yeah, at 100% it looks a lot better. All right, so that's fine. Okay, I think we have everything set up. Let's change this also. Let's use our custom font as well. Open Sans, there we go. Okay, that looks fine. There. Let's run it, see how it looks. All right, click sign up. All right, that looks pretty good. The button doesn't do anything right now, but if I click off the side, it'll dismiss it. So let's do that. Let's dismiss this modal pop-up when I click sign up. For that, we'll need our view controller. Grab the sign up button. Just going to drag it over here. We want an action, and we'll call it sign up. And here you'll have your sign up logic. Darn that autocomplete. And then we're going to do the same thing we did here. We're just going to dismiss it. There we go. Now if we run it, okay, we click that. Now when I click sign up, it'll dismiss it. Most likely what will happen is, if this was a real app, you click sign up and it would navigate you to another window, right? But this is good enough for now. Okay, so thanks for watching. I hope you learned some things concerning modal pop-ups, different options on how you can create the modal pop-up through the Segue instead of just through the view controller, and how to add or basically replace your base view with a blur effect, and then how to dismiss it with a button and by clicking this, and how to use a stack view too. In the next video, I'm just going to cover some last points. It should be pretty quick. When we click on password, notice how the keyboard covers up the text so you can't really see what you're typing. And then you can't really get rid of this keyboard to hit the sign up button either. So we're going to handle that in the next video. Thanks for watching.